Review time. Please turn with me to page 69, chapter 4, Imperial Wars and Colonial Protest. First, the Imperial Wars, or wars between the Spanish, French, and English empires, especially in the New World. The first three wars were named after a British king or queen, so that should be pretty easy to remember. King William's War from 1689 to 97, Queen Anne's War from 1702 to 1713, and King George's War 1744 to 48. In King William's War, the British sought to capture Quebec, but they failed because the French were allied with the Native Americans and defeated the British. However, in Queen Anne's War, the British tried again and they succeeded. And they also gained Nova Scotia from France and trading rights in Spanish America. In King George's War, the British colonies were under attack from both Spanish and French empires, the Spanish to the south and the French to the north. They even got the colonists involved, who captured Louisbourg from the French. However, in the peace treaty that was signed, the British gave the French back Louisbourg in exchange for political and economic gains in India. The 7 Years' War began in 1754, and a peace treaty was signed in 1763, which actually doesn't add up to... Wait, no, it doesn't add up to 7. That's weird. But anyway, the beginning of the war was when the French provoked the British by building a chain of forts along the Ohio River Valley in order to prevent British expansion westward. And the British responded by attacking Fort Duquesne in the process of it being built. And the French defeated them in this battle, and the British troops were led by George Washington, but they were crushed in 1754. And the war began badly for the British in 1755, and the Albany Plan of Union was trying to unite the colonies so that they can help the British defeat the French. And this didn't succeed because the colonies were too selfish of their individual taxation rights of their colonies, so they did not want to go to this Albany Plan of Union, which would tax the it was an intercolonial government that would tax the colonies and recruit troops in order for their united defense. But this set a precedent, however, for the revolutionary congresses of the 1770s, which eventually led to the United States of America. The British won this war, and they acquired French Canada and Spanish Florida from this war, as well as the French giving up Louisiana to the Spanish, which was a large territory to the west. And the British extended their control of North America, and French power on the continent was completely over. With this war, the British felt that they had unchallenged supremacy in North America without even giving thought to the North Americans, and also established them as the most dominant naval power in the New World. And the British came away with from this war with a low opinion of the colonies because they didn't think that they were capable of defending themselves, and they were poorly trained, and they considered them disorderly rabble. And they also noted that they refused to contribute troops or money to the war effort, so this led to them trying to reorganize the British Empire and collect taxes from the colonies. The colonies, however, had an opposite view of the war because they were proud of their military performance in all four wars, and they developed the confidence that they could successfully defend themselves, and they weren't impressed with four wars, and they developed the confidence that they could successfully defend themselves, and they weren't impressed with British leadership, whose methods of warfare seemed badly suited to the densely wooded terrain of Eastern America, and they didn't feel like the British were fit to rule this continent as they did. And with these conflicting views, resentful feelings stirred on both sides regarding each other, and this led to revolts and rebellions and taxes and punishments, such as Pontiac's Rebellion, which was Chief Pontiac rebelling and leading a major attack against colonial settlements on the western frontier in 1763, because the British refused to offer gifts, as the French had done, for their participation in the war. And the Proclamation of 1763 was when the British government established an imaginary line going down from the Appalachian Mountains, prohibiting colonists to settle west of that line. And this proclamation was the first of a series of acts by the British government that angered the colonists because it sort of hindered them and put them in a box and then punished them for doing so well in the wars and for helping them out. And acts that provoked the colonists and really angered them were acts such as the Sugar Act, which was taxing goods such as sugars, obviously, and other things, which led to smuggling, and those accused of smuggling had to be tried in admiralty courts by crown-appointed judges without juries. The Quartering Act, which forced colonists to feed and house British troops. The Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts, which collected taxes on colonial imports such as tea, glass, and paper, and other such goods. These acts, the Townshend Acts, however, were repealed by the British, which collected taxes on colonial imports such as tea, glass, and paper, and other such goods. These acts, the Townshend Acts, however, were repealed by the British Parliament, and things just got worse from there, and this led to the Boston Massacre because the colonists resented British troops who had been quartered in their city to protect customs officials from being attacked by the Sons of Liberty, which formed in response to the Townshend Acts, and they would tar and feather British officials and tax collectors and try to intimidate them so that they didn't collect taxes. And the Boston Massacre was when the colonists harassed a group of soldiers and they fired into the crowd, and 5 colonists were killed. And the most famously known of these killed was Crispus Attucks, an African American. And the conflict was renewed later on, and it led to the Intolerable Acts, which is a broad name for acts such as the Coercive Acts and the Quebec Act, which further angered the colonists and really caused them to rebel against the British in different ways, such as smuggling. And they just basically got tired of it and didn't want to deal with it anymore. So they were even influenced by Enlightenment thinkers such as Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and these were British and French New Age philosophical thinkers who led them to basically revolt against the crown and want their independence from the British. And it culminated people's emotions and caused them to come together and lead to the American Revolution and the founding of this country.